Scott Carney was there for a second. Well, welcome to Club at 22, the Rangers podcast, and we are live. This is Club Live. We are live on YouTube tonight. I am joined by. I thought we had a full card there. I don't know what happened to Mr. Carney, but maybe he'll appear back in a second. That kind of threw me there at the beginning. So first of all, we have Ryan. How are we today, Ryan?
Very good, Santa.
Here he comes.
I am. There he's there. He just wanted an entrance. That's what he wanted. He wanted an entrance.
Kind of threw me off at the beginning there, Carney. I was like,
sorry, didn't mean it.
Hey, Ryan.
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Very, very glad it's a weekend. Looking forward to going to Ibrox for a number of reasons tomorrow. And yes, looking forward to speaking a bit about Rangers for a change. I've not been on for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm Mr. Scott Carney. You completely threw me at the beginning of that live show there, so it'll probably sound a bit kind of nonsense the first minute there before you come back on.
My laptop just decided to all of a sudden do that thing where it just doesn't want the camera to work, so I had to go right back out and come back in. Sorry, everybody. Very professional, as always, this podcast. Yeah, Rangers almost back tomorrow. Looking forward to it for a number of reasons. Let's be honest, lads, this is just a warm-up for our day out tomorrow. Let's be honest.
Yes, and last but not least, Scotia, how are you? I bet you're looking forward to tomorrow. A day of culture.
Oh yes, indeed. Indeed, I'm very good. The football was back on today. World Cup back on after a wee couple of 3-day hiatus. So it was good to have that back on. Well done, Borna, and his masterclass today from the bench. And looking forward to the game tomorrow as well. Like you guys.
Yeah, I bet Ryan was delighted Croatia get through, so he doesn't see Barisic for a bit longer maybe. I'm actually thinking that
it's Christmas. Ali, I'm willing to forgive at the moment, so well done, Borna.
I'll believe that when I see when he comes back. But Scotia, I'll ask you just before we come on to it, does that rule, I assume that rules Barisic out of Thursday against Hibs then?
All right, well, their game's on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So he won't make it. So I imagine you maybe see Feco tomorrow and then against Hibs as well, possibly.
Yeah, because I think Ryan's Turkish delight's still not there, I don't think, at the moment. So, yes, it'll be interesting to see who is playing at left back tomorrow. But anyway, let's get into it. A few talking points tonight. We'll come on to the game at the end. But obviously, we'll start with the AGM that we all thought there was going to be fireworks and all sorts of. Be honest, I thought it pretty much was what we were going to get from all the board of directors, etc. Things to come out from it. I've noted a few things down here. We'll kind of just go through them first. The disabled seating at Ibrox is going to be improved now, which is well overdue for all the disabled people that where they sit in Ibrox and get absolutely soaked. I mean, Ryan will know from sitting down in the front of the Govan when the weather's torrential, you get absolutely soaked. So it's not good for them. So they're looking at putting in 162 disabled access seating, which is going to cause a loss of just over 1,073 seats to people, but they're also looking for permission to increase the capacity of Ibrox by, I think it's like the Broomloan rear and Copeland rear, the kind of front bit. They're going to do a kind of, if you can imagine, a kind of bar 72 type idea onto that, which will add a further 1,800 seats, 900 in each of the ground. So that will boost the stadium if they get the go-ahead by 727 extra seats. Ryan, obviously, because you sit down the Govan front and amongst all the elements of the rain and stuff, it's about time the disabled supporters got this, and it's a long time coming.
Aye, it's well overdue, years overdue. We're behind the times in terms of disabled facilities, and we always have a joke about it, about the AGMs and it being a question, but it's really not a laughing matter because, like I said, the disabled facilities have been so out of date, and I think they've always been like that since I've went to Ibrox in, I don't know, mid-90s. I've been going since the wheelchair bit down in front of the enclosure has always been there. So yes, I think I'll give praise to the board for getting this in motion. I know it's only a proposal until investment's secured, but I would be confident that that's going to go ahead. I think it's something that they've obviously worked on. They've identified an area that they can work on and bring the facilities into, and also to mitigate the loss of the seats in the Brumlin and the Copeland. They're obviously looking to to do similar to what they've done in the governing and extend it by a few rows at the front, so at the front of the rear. So I think it's a really positive thing. It's one positive thing that came out of the AGM, and I totally back it. The only downside is obviously there will be certain fans who'll have to move seats, and I'm sure in terms of the Copeland there'll be fans who have probably sat there for years. So that's probably the only downside. But I think overall, a very positive move by the board.
Yes, Scotia, I made a point now that people will unfortunately have to be moved for this, but I would probably think most of these guys moving seats will be up for it because they know this is for the greater need of obviously disabled people that need better facilities at Ibrox. So, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, I think it's a cracking idea. The wee slide presentation they done looked
quite cool,
and informative. Yeah, and it, like Ryan said there, it's needed to be done for years and years because at the AGM, every AGM for decades almost, it's been the disabled facilities has been one of the main talking points. And my part, I'm sometimes overlook it because I'm going up the club deck and usually when the Copeland end at the club deck and the disabled access isn't in that section, so you don't really see it. Notice it more when I go around to sort of the Brimlin end when I meet Carney and his dad occasionally, that you see the disabled fans going in and it's then that it clicks to me, or when the weather's really bad. So the improvement, yeah, it's great. And the seat gains, the wee elevated platforms that they'll get so that they get a decent view. The wee graphic they showed of the view of the pitch that looked like a fairly decent view. So I think that's really good in that respect. In terms of I think there's 262 seats lost in both the Copeland and in the Brimlin, but they'll just be getting shifted up, to the front of the Copeland rear and Brimlin rear, I would imagine. If I sat up the back of the Govan rear, because I think there's 549 seats getting lost up there. If my season ticket was there and I had to get moved to behind the goals at the Copeland or Brimlin, I might be a wee bit annoyed about it, but I think most people will be in agreement. Obviously, can't speak for them, but will be in agreement that the disabled facilities need this, and it's better than what they're being provided with at the moment. Because that you're sitting down at the bottom and pitch level, sometimes you can't see the other side of the park. Sometimes because of the camber. So good for them.
Yeah, that's a good point Scotia made up. Brought up there, Carney, in terms of the view for disabled supporters is pretty poor. I mean, we've done the stadium tour and that, and you've been pitch side, and it's hard to see because of the way the pitch has got that slight curve on it.
Yeah, even the time I think the kind of nearest to the front that I've ever sat was, or recently anyway, was we went to a B team game, I think, at Ibrox, and we were quite low down. Remember, we ended up in the shade and Scotia braved it out in the sunshine.
Oh, yeah.
We ended up moving to the shade, but yeah, even there you're quite low down, and it's not the most ideal seats. And I think moving to behind the goal at that level, it's a really good view. My first season ticket was round about there in the Copeland end. My first ever season ticket, and the view was brilliant. Do you know what I mean? The view was really good. So it's well overdue. This, I mean, it really is. It's took far too long for us to come to this decision to do it. I do understand that there's a lot has to go into it, and it takes a massive investment. But I like the idea. I like the idea of even extending the Broomloan and the Broomloan and the Copeland rears. Again, it provides even more shelter for the disabled that go to the games, because there's obviously going to be a roof coming out over the top of them, so it's even more shelter for them, and it's long overdue. And to go from where you were sitting down trackside to go to sitting there, it'll be like night and day. It really will be like night and day. So no, I'm all behind the proposed. Look, and it's easy for me to sit here and say it because it doesn't affect where I sit, it doesn't affect my seat. I'm not getting moved. A few people probably will be a wee bit disgruntled by this, I would imagine, and I even think some people that sit at the front of the Broomloan rear and the Copeland rear, they're not going to be the front anymore, if that makes sense. They won't be right at the front anymore, so I think that might disgruntle people. But I think most people, as I say, as we've said, will be in complete agreement that this is long overdue and the plans look fantastic. So hopefully it doesn't take them as long as it's took to build this house that's beside Ibrox, and they actually get it done in a reasonable time.
Yeah, I think we'll leave Edmonton's house for another podcast. That's looking like another year away. So, Scotia, you cutting the red ribbon. It's going to be a while away with your Edmonton house package. So.
Put your scissors away, mate. You don't need them.
Yeah, no, put them away for a year, Scotia. You can bring them back out. So, I thought it was a positive from the AGM. going on to the kind of the figures, we've kind of talked about the figures in terms of the turnover. There's been a fair jump, mainly down to European participation, player sales as well. I know it's 2020, we were sitting turnover of 59 million. 2022, this is obviously the most we've turned over at 86.8 million. Player investment, which I looked at in the chart, they had a lot of charts, so it's quite good to look at that and break it down, etc. But the player chart, we've invested over the last 5 years, £60 million on players. The most we spent was season 2021, which was 18.1 million. Ryan, that's £60 million that we've spent in 5 years. Have we spent it well?
No. It's not all doom and gloom. It is not all doom and gloom. There has been, of course, there's been mistakes made. There always is going to be mistakes made. When you look at what Ross Wilson's argument will be is look at the money I've generated. I know Aribo and Bassey and Patterson don't technically come in. I don't think Patterson does. Their figures don't technically come until next year's figures. But I think when you look at overall, from a business point of view, he's probably done a good job. Yeah, he's probably met his targets in terms of bringing the sales of player, the figures in through sales of players and Bisgrove as well. Obviously, I would imagine he's more than met his targets. But yeah, that sounds crazy money. When you think of £60 million, that sounds, for me, crazy money in Scotland. And yeah, I would like to have seen a better return than we've got, a better product on the park, because it was only a few weeks ago or a few months ago we were talking about having to rip it up and start again, and we would need investment and pump millions into this team to get us where we need to be. So my answer to your question in a roundabout way is no, I don't think in terms of the product on the park that we have spent the money well overall.
Yeah, I mean, I'll come on to the final bit when I go through a few other points of some of the questions that were asked at the AGM, which were there was a couple of ones in there which I thought were a bit, is that your, we've only got so many questions to ask, is that one of the questions? But we'll get there. Carney, obviously we're talking about the 60 million spent over 5, which I mean, it's a good chunk of money we've spent in that 5 year period. I noticed the wages from just taking from 17-18, our wages were 15.1 million. We're now sitting at 37.8 million, which is quite high for us, to be honest. What I expect will be shaved for next year. But what was your kind of thoughts on the player investment and just throwing in a kind of wage budget there as well?
Yeah, the wage budget's very high, mate. I think we've been saying it for a while. There is a lot of players, and I think it's probably due to length of service as well of some of the players. Let's not lie. I think Goldson's going to get a decent wage out of it. Tav's going to have got a decent wage. McGregor would have probably got a decent final wage out of it. All these players we've kind of kept on will still ask for more. Might not be much more, but they still will ask for more. So yeah, it is too high now. We are at the point that it is too high, but there is going to be a number of people leaving, as you say, mate. But yeah, we can't really be running at that. And I think there was a point during it, and again, I don't want to do an Ali, and go off on a tangent. But obviously, they were asked about the renewals of Kent and Morelos, and I think that's probably a sticking point right now with them. Is like we can't really go much higher than where we are. There's got to be a ceiling of where we can invest into players' wages, because if not, you're letting things spiral out of control again and constantly chasing your tail. And to be a self-sustaining club, you cannot be like that. So yeah, I think there's definitely a wee bit of work to be done there. But yeah, I didn't realise it was as high as it was when I seen that. It was pretty high. In terms of the investment into the squad, I mean, again, going off on a tangent, Ross Wilson's made it very clear to everybody that he doesn't sign players. He just does the admin work, basically. So it's all down to the manager's choices. It's too much for the as little return as we've had. And I get that we won 55 and I get that we got to the European final. I do understand that. But still, when we're at this stage now and there's a number of players, I suppose we'll need to wait and see how it is under Beale, but there was a number of players that looked like they didn't want to be here, and you can't really be having that at Rangers. I think it's going to be interesting to see who Beale decides is here for the long haul and who will be surplus to requirements, really. I'm looking forward to seeing his decision making on that. But the investments, in my opinion, is too high for the little return. Not little return, but you would expect maybe 5 absolute successes for that amount of out of all the invest you make. You would expect maybe 5 players to be like they're stick-ons, it's worked, etc., or they've returned their value to us, and I'm not sure we're at that stage just yet. But I mean, I still believe, in terms of the finances, we're going in the right direction. I do. Do you not think it was quite interesting that they made a very big point of explaining Champions League money, though?
I'm coming to that. I'm coming.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Carry on, mate.
Hold.
Yeah, Scotia. Like I was saying to the guys, 60 million spent over 5 years is a fair chunk of money. Let's be honest about it in terms of where we are and where we've been. I know we've talked about maybe doing a pod breaking down all these signings during those years to see if they've been a success, whatever. So, what was your thoughts on that and the kind of where the wages are sitting at the moment?
For me, right, the 60 million over that 5-year period, and this is where the AGM happening the time it does, it gets melded into the current season and what's happening in the current season, but they're not really talking about anything to do with this season. Whereas all our focus will go on like the summer transfer signings, and a lot of them haven't been great this year. But looking at that 60 million up until the end of last season, considering where we were, we probably should have won 2, probably 3, possibly 3 titles, and we've only won 1 in that period, because I think you can write off the first 2 in terms of trying to get back to where we should be in like 2018 and 2019. But we got to a European final as well. So 60 million does seem an awful lot, but and maybe not doing great in terms of domestic in the sort of the last couple of seasons, apart from the 55 win. But it seems okay to me, really. What was a bit concerning was only that it was only 13.5 million in revenue from player sales, I think they'd mentioned. And obviously that's where the player trading model that they spoke about needs to come in. And we're still at the very early baby steps of that trading model. Like Ryan said there, the fees for Rebo and Bassey, they're not, you can forget about them when we're talking about this AGM. So I thought that overall, the financial stuff overall was really good. It was positive, I think, but an awful, like they mentioned, the 87 million revenue was up 82% on last season. But obviously, you've got to factor in the fact that a lot of that's down to getting to the final of the Europa League. That's not going to be what we'll get normally in a season. So I thought that the financial figures were decent, and it was positive because, like they mentioned, it's been progress year on year in the last 5 years, which is good to see. But like Carney mentioned there is concern with the player wages rising, and obviously, I've not looked into it in too much detail, but you've got all this FIFA financial fair play regulations that we need to meet, and we get a wee warning thing, didn't we, earlier in the season, that we were on that kind of watch list almost, and that's the problem. And it sort of ties into your player trading model. You can't keep on extending players' contracts because they'll want more and more, and your wage bill will go higher and higher, where we should be shifting players on sort of at their peak value.
Yeah, it's probably the reason why Ryan Kenton, Alfredo Morelos haven't re-signed, because they want too much money. So it's a good point, Scotia. That is probably the reason. I think they can actually kind of said something along those lines, that some players want too much money, and unfortunately we can't break that. If as soon as you start breaking that, we'll go back down a dangerous road. Also remember Leeds away back when they were chasing that Champions League Leeds and just flung money at players, and you see what happened there. So no, I don't think we'll be going down that road. But the one Carney brought up, which was an interesting one, which was this Champions League. Now, the Champions League figures aren't in the latest annual accounts, but they wanted to bring this one up because this figure that has been bandied about by fans and press and everything of 30-40 million war chest that Rangers get as soon as they get to Champions League, I think they wanted to put that to bed, basically, and just show you exactly what Rangers get. And it'll probably wake a few Rangers fans up and go, oh, Christ, right, well, that's where we're at with it, basically. So it was quite interesting. And I think we've brought it up before in terms of the 10-year coefficient is a huge thing because we've not been in Europe and we've not built that up. So before even kicking a ball, in our group, before kicking a ball, nothing happens. We got £17.9 million. Ajax, who you would have thought, or between Ajax and Napoli, you would have thought were the kind of second, third place teams within that group. Ajax got 33.1 million, Napoli 36.6 million, and Liverpool 50.6 million before even kicking a ball. Carney, were you shocked by that, or what was your thoughts on it? I thought it was quite good that they put it in there because I think they were trying to basically tell Rangers fans, look, this is the reality of it, and this is where we are.
I wasn't shocked by it, no. I wasn't because I understand the way that it all works. Rangers getting back to the Champions League for me wasn't really of course it's the money, you want the money and all that, but it was more the stature of the club, us being back to being one of the biggest names in world football, and that was what it was more about to me. I think look, there's so much of just made up stuff in terms when it comes to finances that some Rangers fans, for whatever reason, will believe and get dragged down with it and believe that it's gospel and this is what it's going to be. Where's this 30 million, 40 million gone that we're getting for the Champions League? And it was never going to be the case. And considering we didn't win a game, then, I mean, you're not exactly hoping to get maximum value out of it when we've not hardly won anything. The most interesting thing I found about it was the board were already setting expectations for what next year's finances will look like. So when they come out, it's not immediately where's the Champions League money. They've already explained to you exactly what's happened, which I give them credit for. I do give them credit for. I think they were quite right to do so because there is just too much paper talk, made up stuff, fake news, as Mr. Trump would call it, that it's just not the case. It's not the case in terms of the money. We have extremely poor broadcasting rights in this country. It's not helped by who we're run by. Again, another podcast on its own. But that's why you see Rangers trying to push back on the deal that we signed with Sky, all this kind of stuff, because it all becomes relevant when you're in the Champions League and where how the money's distributed. And yeah, it was what it was. To be honest, I thought it was a wee bit more than we would probably have got. I was like, well, that's actually quite good. I was like, that's actually more than I expected. So I wasn't shocked. I was shocked maybe that they included it, but I do give them credit for doing so.
Yeah, Scotia, I mean, 17.9 million, it's not a bad figure, to be honest. When you look at it against other teams, it's a lot lower. But I mean, the board budget, what they said, they budget 50 million a season on Europe. So straight ahead, they're ahead of budget on us just getting the Champions League. The only downside of the Champions League this year was our performances in the Champions League. Because if we'd won drawn games, we would have got bonus money, basically, and we didn't. So that's the reason why we didn't get extra money. I know you've got the gate receipts, etc., but yeah, 17.9 million was what we got, Scotia, and our performances didn't help us in terms of more money for us, basically.
No, they didn't. I think that graph that they put up was interesting. You look at it, the problem we've got as well, I'll go into the coefficients in a minute, but the problem we've got is, although we are in a Scottish league and we've got the Scottish kind of league share that we'll obviously share with Celtic, in terms of broadcasting rights, it's all obviously through BT at the minute, and all the English teams are included in that as well, and they get a big, massive chunk, obviously, because they've got a bigger share of the TV audience, etc. Would it be different if we had like our own separate package rather than included in like a whole UK one? If it was put into like a league package, I don't know if you could work a better format there or get more money from something like that. I don't know if it's something that the Scottish League would ever look at or not. Probably not, because BT or Sky would run that. So you've got that to look at, and then obviously the coefficient stuff, like you mentioned there. You look at the 10-year rolling coefficient, and we are sitting 66th, I think. and obviously 5 of those years are blank. One of those years you've got 0.25 points because of Progress Niederkorn, and then this season I think we're in 1. Obviously the period in between Progress Niederkorn and this season are really good. I should have looked this up before we came on. How much did Celtic get? Does anyone know? Maybe someone knows in the comments, but how much did they get off the bat in the con?
I'd be surprised if anybody knows that. However, if this podcast was one of their podcasts, they'll have all of our figures to hand to the penny.
Oh, still written on their hand in crayon. Yeah.
Yeah, but I know they definitely get more than us because they're sitting 44th in the 10-year coefficient at the minute, and obviously because they've got.
I do remember, Scotia, we did a pod and we brought up that 10-year coefficient because they got more money than us. They got something like, I think they got something like 8 million more than us or something, round about that figure.
Yeah. So I mean, we've still got like 5, probably 6, counting the Progress Niederkorn. So 6 more seasons until we can really start reaping the full benefits of that coefficient ranking, which we don't have at the moment. So I think 17.9 million, still 18 million quid, still a really decent return. Would I traded it for more games after the winter break and any knockout competition in Europa League? Quite possibly, given the way the Champions League went this season, if we're being honest.
Yeah, Ryan, maybe that's why they bumped the package right up to the maximum, because you were going to get humped during this Champions League group stage, not getting more bonus money.
It's funny you mentioned that. I'd forgotten about Robertson's answer to the package in terms of ticket prices. I don't know if you saw that. He was asked about why the prices were so high, and basically his answer in a nutshell was, well, the demand was there and we sold out, so which I thought was really cheeky and really, it's basically Stuart Robertson answer. I thought it was insulting in terms of where a lot of fans are. We're in a cost of living crisis at the moment. Some fans are. I don't mind sharing on this pod, I struggled to pay my package at the time. Things weren't great and it was very difficult to pay it. So I thought that was really cheeky of him and reflective of the board and how in touch they are with the fan base at the moment. So I wasn't impressed with that answer. In terms of the money that we got for the Champions League, I mean, the performance, it's hard to detach the performances on the park from what you're getting in terms of revenue from the Champions League, but I think it's just a case of you're happy to be at the table, really, and take that money and run. Unfortunately, I'm left with a sour taste because of the performances, though.
Yeah, no, I know. It's just shows the reality of where we are at the moment, basically, and it kind of shows how much European football is massive for us going forward, because you don't earn anything in a Scottish League and cups and stuff, so we need to do well in Europe. But I just lastly on the AGM is the question and answer. I was maybe going to ask you what was your favourite question out of it all. But there was some mad one. Carney, there was some mad ones, and there was a guy asking about how he couldn't. What was he saying? Something to do with Edmondson Car Park. There was another guy who wanted to subsidy his granddaughter. And I get some of these folk, maybe that is their genuine question. They want an answer to it, but there's more pressing questions that we want, and you could write a list down now of what we want answers to. And the questions that were given, they weren't great, to be honest.
I think the board got off lightly. Before we come to the kind of
laughing.
Yeah, but before we get to some of the more kind of out there questions, I think the board got off so lightly. Not one mention in the Sydney Cup, which really disappointed me. Like, who authorised this? Who thought this was a good idea? What were you thinking? Genuinely, I thought Douglas Park's answers were poor. I mean, really poor. The guy just doesn't fill me with any sort of leadership or anything. He seems like he's just a guy that sits there and everybody else just kind of talks and he just sits and kind of nods his head. I don't really like the way he comes across, if I'm being honest. But again, the guy's into the club for some amount of millions, and you've got to thank him for that. I'll always be grateful for that. But I wasn't I did like his answer in terms of the Ryan Kent and Morelos one. Sometimes you make an offer and negotiations you can't go any further. I get that. That was like, that's fair enough that you've come out and said that. the rest of them, yeah, honestly, I just thought it was so many wasted opportunities. I did like the one guy that brought up asking, why did you release a frame of a 7-1 defeat at Ibrox against Liverpool? Again, what were you thinking? Like, where were you coming from? And they didn't even answer it, to be honest. They kind of got away lightly on that one. But look, I see the people that ask you questions about the Albion season, the Albion car park, the not getting season tickets, the MyGer stuff, and that's all relevant to them and their shareholders. You've got to be a shareholder to go to that, haven't you? Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah.
Right, so they've paid their money. So I get that. That's what's important to them. I completely understand that. That's fine. The nutter that stood up and started shouting about human rights and whatever, I'm sorry. I don't know what you were hoping to achieve with that, but that was ridiculous. And I did actually quite like that Stuart Robertson just went, no, I am not even going to humour that. I'm going to move on. I'll give him kudos for that because I don't know what that guy was thinking. That was madness, absolute madness. But yeah, it was. The AGM's never going to be long enough. That's the thing. You heard reports from the people that were there. Stevie Clifford, Joshua Barry, David Edgar, even Colin that's in Heart and Hand, they all said there was still people standing wanting to ask questions. There was questions still to be answered, and it's never going to be long enough. It could have went for about 6 hours, and there'll probably still be people asking questions. But I think the most prominent one with me that kind of stuck to me, and it's something that's ran on far too long now, and it's again, it's something I'm not even involved in, but I'm sick of hearing about it. See this Club 1872 thing with Dave King, the board, whatever, going to sort it out, going to just figure out how to do it, and I don't want to hear about it anymore. Just figure out what you're going to do and move on from it, because it's petty stuff, man. It really, really is petty stuff. I just felt like it was a kind of unnecessary distraction. It might have been important for Club 1872 members, but bring it up with the board directly. You're a shareholder within the club. You could request a chat with Douglas Park, whoever you want to. Don't do it at an AGM. That's my personal opinion, no, because I'm not involved in it and I don't want involved in it. But I do believe the board they were let off lightly. I think it flattered to deceive what I was hoping for, but it's probably ended up what it expected. In terms of Ross Wilson, I think you could see he had the bit between his teeth and he was ready. He was like sitting like tensed and ready for every question that was going to come his way. But I thought he handled himself quite well and he certainly cleared a few things up. How much you want to believe of it, I suppose, is open to interpretation. But all in all, the board got off with one.
Yeah, Scotia, I don't know what your favourite question is. There was one question which I listened to and I actually thought of you, Scotia, because you've banged the drum about this one a while on the podcast. And it was a guy that said, basically, why did we sign Suter when we knew he was injury prone? And he went down the route of what you've been saying for a long time in this podcast in terms of his homegrown. He ticks a box for us in terms of moving forward with to do with homegrown players that we need. What did you think of that one? Because I did think of you, Scotia, when that one was read out, because you've been banging the drum about it for ages.
Yeah, no, but when Wilson responded to that question about Suter, I think we all knew that Suter was going to be a wee bit of a gamble but it was a free gamble in terms of no transfer fee, obviously wages coming into it, but it was a bit of a free gamble. And I agreed with them in terms of the Scottish player registering for Europe thing. There was other points of it that I didn't. It was being a wee bit wishy-washy with, but that one's true because I think we've got McGregor, McCrory, McLaughlin, Suter, King, Jack, Arfield, and Wright as sort of first team players that are Scottish, and a few of them are sort of homegrown in terms of Rangers as well. You lose them, then you're having to, and you bring in someone that isn't Scottish or hasn't been. I'm not counting the players like Lowry and Devine and other younger players that fall into they can go on the B list at the minute. But we do need to have Scottish players that can contribute to that team, because otherwise, if you replace those players with someone that isn't Scottish, then someone's getting left out your European squad because you can't meet the requirements, and you're having to fill it with the youth team players in that respect. So I understand that. But yeah, Suter in itself is a bit of an enigma. I think I was having a wee look at him. He's missed 166 games due to injury throughout his career. He's played 236 games and missed 166, be that with ankle injuries, knee injuries, hip injury, and Achilles tendon injuries. So he's not had to look far to run into problems with injuries, Suter. But no, I agreed with what Wilson was saying in terms of meeting that Scottish player requirement, because it is something that occasionally gets overlooked. But it was a bit of a risk, I think, with Suter. But I wasn't naive enough to think it wasn't going to be a risk trying to get him in anyway. It's just unfortunate. It's what Rangers do. But the questions themselves, listen, I'm not a shareholder. I mentioned that in the last pod. So, these people have got the right to go up there. And even if I was a shareholder, would I be someone that would go up and ask the question anyway? You need to go up and put yourself forward to ask the question. So they've got every right to. So the majority of questions were all right. I get people moaning about not being able to sit beside each other, although it wasn't clear the guy that was on whether or not his granddaughter had got a ticket and was sitting somewhere else, or if she just hadn't got a ticket at all. I wasn't too clear in that. But like Carney, the one in COVID was, it's like some of the ones you see. If you sit and watch Question Time and you see some of these people that I think I'm fine with the COVID stuff. I was fine with the COVID stuff and things like that. I've got no issues with having to have that vaccine pass in my respect. But if you'd asked that question a wee little less controversially or confrontationally, he might have got a response. It was the way the question got asked. I think that's why Robertson moved on. Which, if it was asked in a better manner, I think he maybe would have got a better response. But what can Rangers do? It's not Rangers that put these rules in place. It's the government that put these rules in place. So yeah, they can't do anything. So I don't know. And I think Wilson, he came out for a wee bit of stick. Wilson. There was that boy that had asked the question about Suter. He'd also mentioned some of the other transfer policies, and I know it's something that you want to look at in terms of Wilson's success rate in terms of signings. So he took a wee bit of stick, maybe not as much as I thought he would, Wilson, but the other questions were fairly innocuous, really, and generally answered okay, I thought.
Yeah, Ryan, your favourite question was probably the guy that had a go at Wilson in terms of his signings, and he had all his transfer fees lined up and everything, which he obviously got from. Well, they're undisclosed, so he had to only go with what he's got in front of him in terms of its rumoured figures, and he had a wee go at Wilson. I thought that was maybe your favourite one now.
It probably was, because I think I probably agree with Carney. They did get a bit of an easy ride. I think it's very favourable for them to bring out the shiny new toy, which is a new manager, and ease the atmosphere a wee bit and take the tension away. So I think they got a bit of an easy ride, whereas that guy was quite direct with Wilson. And he did, I think I won't quote the guy, but I think he said something along the lines of, is Ross Wilson fit for purpose? Should he still have his job kind of thing? Ross Wilson was ready for it. I think he knew a question like that would come. But his job is, like I said, he'll look at it and say, I've brought players in who haven't worked, but I've also brought players in who have worked. We've sold them on. The club's made money. The big picture is this is a business. The management are there to win his titles. I think it's not shouldering the blame, but I think accountability is there, and I think he will look at his targets that he probably has met, and he'll look at, right now we're halfway through the season, he'll probably cross his fingers that Rabbi Matondo is going to be an absolute stick out in the second half of the season, but whether or not that's going to be the case, I don't know. But yeah, he deserves to be under a bit of pressure on it at the AGM with some of the questions that got asked. I think you're going to get that every AGM and every business. You're always going to get people who, things like that, things that maybe aren't important to you and I, are probably important to them, the likes of the ticket thing. Is there another avenue? Is there an avenue with a club that you can maybe contact them and inquire about that, inquire through my Jers? I think there probably is. I don't know if an AGM is where you're going to get that answer. But listen, who are we to sit there? I'm not a shareholder. I don't think any of us are. Who are we to kind of question these guys and their timing and their questions when they are the guys who are putting their hard-earned money into the club? So it's very difficult. But the answer to your original question is, my favourite question was the Castor question, and why is there no stocking fillers? Brilliant. Love that one.
Yeah, I know. I did see that one as well. So
Can I just say
Aye.
quickly before you move on, Ali, I've seen a lot of people in the comments kind of disagreeing with what we say and how we're approaching things with the AGM. This is our opinion. Like, I say it all the time. See, if you don't agree with it, that's fine. It's what we are. It's Rangers fans. We're never always going to agree. But don't take it as if what we're saying is gospel. It's just our take on the way that things have went. So we're all going to have different opinions, and we could go down a rabbit hole and talk about COVID and talk about vaccine passports, etc., etc. But that's not really what this is, what it's all about. So just putting out there, if you disagree. I'm more than happy for people to disagree.
That's what it's all about. It's all about opinions. That's what it is. So, moving on from the AGM, because we can put that away for a year. Hopefully that's it done. So we'll wait till next year and see what happens. But getting closer to this game. Obviously, the transfer rumours are going to start to ramp up now. Obviously, with the transfer window opening soon. The one which we've had. In fact, before I come on to Kamara, we'll start with the one that's doing the rounds at the moment. Scotia's pal, Craig Porteous, a.k.a. Ryan Porteous. If a lot of listeners in there don't know what I'm going on about, Scotia done a blooper one day, and when he was going on about Ryan Porteous, but he called him Craig Porteous. So
infamous.
It's stuck.
It's infamous.
Yeah, so it's infamous. So it's stuck. But so we'll stick with you, Scotia. So I'll go around you all. He's been linked in paper talk. The Sun came out today and says no, Rangers aren't interested. So it's been Rangers have been, they haven't been. So I'm going to just go around you all basically and ask you a quick answer. You can say more than one word, but just a quick answer. Would you take Ryan Porteous or Craig Porteous, Scotia?
I said to you, 3 seasons ago, that I think there's a player in there, but he needs to cut out his nonsense. I don't think he has cut out his nonsense as much as I would like. So I wouldn't be adverse, but he's running out of time to sort himself out in terms of this bad boy image that he's got.
Right. Ryan, I know you're a fan of Craig Porteous.
I've U-turned on this twice, boys. I've U-turned on it twice. I would have said a few months ago, no chance. I would have at the beginning of the season, don't like him. He's in a date. He's not a good player. I think I was texting Scotia, and apparently the good game for Scotland, there is potential there with that lad. Whether you like him or not, he has got potential. Do I see it against Rangers? Never. Very, very rarely do I see it. I think he hates Rangers. I'm pretty sure of that. I don't think he's a fan of us. There's a video going about where if he did sign for us, I would struggle to get that video out of my head. However, he is Scottish talent. He's a decent centre-half. He has potential. And he is an absolute James Blunt. And I don't think we have enough players like that in our team. I think we need players like that who are going to be nasty. They're going to do the dark arts. They're going to do the side of the game that we do like to see. But to touch on what Scotia said, he hasn't cut out his stupid mistake. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's just really, really stupid. Ryan Porteous, and I called him Craig Porteous. I think he's really stupid.
It's called Craig.
I think he's really, really stupid, Ryan Porteous. If he can sort that out and come to us, then I would take him.
Okay. Carney?
Not in a million years do I want that man anywhere near Rangers Football Club. And I'm going to leave it at that because I could go on. That guy's got no class, man. No dignity, nothing. He goes out to try and end players' careers, to try and actually hurt people. It's not what the game's about anymore, in my opinion. I don't think he likes Rangers. I don't particularly like him, and I don't think he'll ever be good enough for us. So my answer is a definite no.
Carney, was he sitting on the fence there, was he? Went straight for it.
I hate the boy. Honestly, I can't stand him. I cannot stand him.
What is it? Can I ask, right? That's interesting because I think I was like that at the beginning of the season. And I think what's changed me is I think Rangers are too nice. Our team are too nice. So what is it about? What is it? Just to genuinely ask you, what is it that you don't want? Is it because he is anti-Rangers, let's be honest, he doesn't like Rangers. Is it that, or is it because he's a dirty player? Or both?
No, I agree that there's not enough Barry Hunt's in our team, mate. I 100% agree with that. I do. I just think he's the wrong type to go for. I don't think that it's not him that we need. In the nicest way, and I know that his name's been bandied about quite a lot, the kind of player like that I would want is Kevin Thompson. Somebody with a real bit of dig in him, like won't mess about, and he'll get it right more times than he'll get it wrong. I don't think Porteous has got the class to anywhere near us. And to be honest, I think this story is a wee bit clickbait, but it's interesting to talk about because a lot of people have got different opinions on him. No, just for me, I don't think he's good enough, and I think he's the wrong type of Barry Hunt.
We're doing so well with our kind words, and
yeah, I know.
We're doing so well. We've come on so well, all of us.
Yeah.
See in terms of Porteous' disciplinary record, he's had 4 red cards in 177 games, which I think might shock people. I think people might expect it to be more than that. And obviously, there was that horrible challenge he put in Barisic when we were playing him a couple of seasons ago. That he put in, but he's only had four red cards. The red card thing for me is maybe a bit of a red herring. But
if he wears a Rangers top and he does what he does, he gets sent off. It's as simple as that.
Yeah,
that's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah.
Yep, and to be honest, I'm in Carney's camp. Yeah, I think we could possibly coach him, but could I trust him in a Rangers jersey? Imagine him in a Rangers Celtic big games. Could I trust him? Referees, I think, will target him. I don't think I could. And we do need more of these guys in our team that are more aggressive guys, but he just oversteps the line for me. And I don't think he has learned Porteous, and I'm in Carney's camp as well. So it's a no from me. So sorry, Craig Porteous, we're moving on from you. And on to another rumour that has been doing the rounds, a guy that hasn't even checked in at Rangers this season, but he's one of Beale's favourite players, Glenn Kamara. Ryan, I know you like Kamara. Oh, Jim Sloan, there's in with a wee donation. Thanks very much, Jim. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Jim.
Glenn Kamara, Ryan. He's been rumoured 6 million from Nantes, plus other teams having a wee look at him. What would you do with Glenn Kamara in January? Say somebody come in and offered us between 6 and 8 million. Would you let him go? I know he's got a couple of years left in his contract, but for me, he's I don't know if he wants to be here. Yeah, I know Michael Beale is here, but does he want to be here?
As you know, I basically know for a fact he doesn't want to be here. If his attitude or what he said in the summer is what I understand is that he was open to a transfer in the summer and it just didn't happen. So if that's still his attitude, then he can go. In terms of the money, 6 million, I'd be shocked if we got 6 million for him. I think that's great money for Glenn Kamara. I think Glenn Kamara is in the same camp as Ryan Kent and Alfredo Morelos, where their value has probably dropped significantly because of their time. Kent and Morelos out of form. Well, maybe not Morelos out of form, but he's not been playing for us, really, has he? And when he has played, he's not looked the player that he once was. I think there's a player in Glenn Kamara. I think he's a fantastic footballer who could play at a very decent level because he's the type of player who just holds on to the ball. His game is ball retention. He's not a goal scorer, but I think he's a very clever footballer. So possibly you'll get a team paying over the odds for that side of his game. But I would let Glenn Kamara go. If he doesn't want to be here, he's been a great servant, great piece of business. And if we get him if we sell him for £6 million, I would A, be shocked, but B, I'd be delighted with that kind of money because that's some crazy profit for a player that we bought for 50 grand.
Yeah, Scotia, there's been a bit of a kind of divide I've seen today in terms of the figure. People like Ryan are saying 6 million. I'd take that as good money for Glenn Kamara, but I've seen other people say, "Oh no, he's worth much more than £6 million." But I'm in Ryan's camp. You need to judge him here and now, and what he's done now. We can't judge him on 18 months ago when he was in the prime of his career. So, what sort of camp are you in with this one?
Yeah, I'm like you. Right here, right now, 6 million. Great, take it. Just given his level of performance this season, but it's one I think where people are coming from is if he goes on and has a great second half of the season, his value will skyrocket again, or not skyrocket, but it'll go up into double digits quite easily. A wee booster seat curry manager indeed. Yes. So if he has a really good 6 months to the end of the season, his value will go up into double digits, but it's a bit of a gamble there. Justin Muir,
Justin,
Justin. God bless America.
That's a pint for you tomorrow, Scotia.
But I think, like Ryan was mentioning there, I think we had a player lined up to come in, and it didn't go through because Kamara's deal in the summer didn't go through. I think it was the last couple of days of the window. I think we had a Danish boy lined up. It wasn't the Dutch player that Wilson had mentioned in the press conference or in the AGM. I think we all know that was Xavi Simons, who decided to go elsewhere. But no, 6 million right now for Kamara. Yeah, I'd take it. But we'd need to reinvest that 6 million into a midfielder, a number 8, please.
Yeah, no. Flick on you, Kirkani. No, thanks very much, Justin. That's much appreciated. You're always either you or Jim. It's the two of you all the time. So we've got a Christmas day out tomorrow. So that'll be interesting. We're not going to do a blog in that, or vlog. Sorry, in that. Don't worry. Probably get a lot of views for that though, can't I?
No, you'll get it on Scotia's OnlyFans though.
You'll get it on Scotia's OnlyFans. Subscribe to that. You get a discount code Club at 22 if you put that in. You get a discount. But no, Carney, Glenn Kamara, you in the same camp as us, 6 million. You would take that.
Yeah, I've seen a few comments, people saying more, people saying they would take less. I think it's all relevant to where he is just now, form-wise. From what I've seen so far this season, if we get 6 million on the table for him right now and Beale he's not overly enthusiastic about keeping him, then 100% you sell him, 100% you sell him. Jim, do you realise that doesn't go to Justin? But no, Jim, again, thank you so much, mate. That's amazing to do that again, mate. Thank you so much. The Kamara, no, 6 million, mate, right now. I'd bite your hand off for it, man. I really would. I'd sell him all day long for that. It's something that can be well and truly reinvested back into the squad. I think Kamara's probably he's probably the biggest player in the squad for me that I'm waiting to see what reaction he has to Beale coming back, because he loved playing under Gerrard and Beale, and that's ultimately when he was his best. And yeah, we probably could have got 12 million for him realistically when he was at his peak, because he was incredible. He really was. He was in our team constantly. Even when you go back and look at the pods that we were doing, we were talking about when we were wanting him to. We're always wanting him to play, but very rarely have we picked him this season. So. Yeah, it's still unbelievable business by the club though. When you look at it, it doesn't really matter what we get for Glenn Kamara. It could only be 3 million, but the profit in it is bonkers. It really is. So, but yeah, I mean, the lot of 6 million's lying on the table and it's all cash up front. I would be having a serious conversation with Kamara and saying, I think it's time for you to move on.
Yeah, I think most Rangers fans are probably in the same camp, to be honest, with Kamara. But moving on, we have Rangers back tomorrow. That's them, I think, 4 weeks we've not had them or something. It's been a nice 4 weeks, to be honest, not having to see them. But we've got them back tomorrow. It's a friendly at Ibrox. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff, which is an early kickoff for everyone. We're playing Bayer Leverkusen. How do you look at them? Leverkusen, they're sitting 12th in the Bundesliga. Played 15, won 5, drawn 3, lost 7. They've actually won the last 4 out of 5 games, Leverkusen, so they've hit a wee bit of form. Ryan, a friendly. Friendlies don't really get me going, but we'll be there tomorrow. Not in our own seats, but we will be there tomorrow. What's your thoughts about tomorrow? Are you actually interested in the game tomorrow, or is it other things?
I thought I forgot we're playing tomorrow, Ali. No, I might surprise you here. I'm actually quite interested to see how he sets up tomorrow. I think there won't be much of a change, but I'm on board the Beale train. Of course, he's the Rangers manager.
I'm going to ask. Sorry, Ryan. I'm going to ask you for a quick team as well and scoring.
You're joking. Away you go, man. You're
out of order. You know, everything you've done this week, you've just threw it out the window. You threw it out the window with that. I'm looking forward to seeing how he sets up, but I think I want to see a bit of change. I want to see something that's going to make me think, he can work with these players. He can make a difference with this current team. I want to see something that's going to get my spirits up a bit. Just seeing Michael Beale sitting there saying Rangers need to be better, we need to be attacking, we need to be faster, isn't enough for me at the moment. And that's not a criticism of Michael Beale, it's just talk sheep. If that's fair to say, I want to see it on the park. And I'm not saying if I don't see it tomorrow, it's not going to happen. I'm just looking forward to seeing something a wee bit different. I want to see tweaks, and I don't want to see shoehorn football tomorrow. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to play. Looking forward to seeing who's going to play at left back. That'll be interesting. In terms of my team, Ali, can you come back to me? Oh, thank God. Thank God for that.
You can give me it tomorrow. You can give it tomorrow just before we go out to the seats. No.
I'll play Porteous. Porteous will play centre-half.
No. To be fair, I think the team that you'll play for the first half, I would think won't be too far away from what you'll play against Hibs. I would think. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. But Scotia tomorrow, back at Ibrox, Leverkusen. Take it you're looking forward to it. The return of, I'd say Matondo will probably be playing as well. That's my favourite one for tomorrow. See if he'll get a tune out Matondo.
No, looking forward to it. I'm always looking forward to go to watch football at Ibrox. So, yeah, happy to be back. Although, to be honest, I was like, before the game, I don't think I'll be paying much attention to the football, if I'm being honest. It's just to get minutes back in the leg. But like Ryan, it'll be interesting to see who he goes for at left back. I've seen a few folk in the comments speaking about Sands potentially being at left back, but I don't know if Yefeko maybe comes in from the youth team there, because I know he was up training he's been training with the first team over the last few weeks, and Beale having a look at him, and he's obviously naturally a left back, which with Borna getting through, as I mentioned at the top of the show, that he won't be there. So it should be good. I mean, Leverkusen, I don't really know what to expect. They've got 7 players that have been away at the World Cup. They've got that wee boy Florian Wirtz, who I think he was pretty young when we played them last, but I think he's really grown and come on to the game. I think he's a good wee attacking midfielder. But they're a different team than when we faced them a couple of seasons. 2020 we faced them. It was the COVID season, actually, wasn't it? That was the last game before COVID shut everything down. That 3-1 defeat, and then obviously that 1-0 behind closed doors and whatever it was in the continent. So I'm looking forward to as much as you can for a friendly. And we'll see what the day brings.
Yes, we will indeed, Scotia. It's all going to be a long day tomorrow. But Carney, tomorrow, back at Ibrox. What's your thoughts about tomorrow?
Well, a game that I wasn't planning on going to, mate, and you've pulled one out the bag, mate. So I am really looking forward to tomorrow. Potentially a club reaction video from somewhere rather special tomorrow, somewhere none of us have been within Ibrox, so potentially. But yes, look, it's a friendly. It is what it is. It is more about the day for us, I think, tomorrow. But it's also going to be good to see how he approaches things and what changes that he's already made. He said that he's went in and pretty much stamped his style, his ideas down immediately. The players are responding well. So, and I'm also interested to see who is actually back, because we've got told at the AGM as well that there's players returning to the squad almost daily. So if there is, then who, and who is it going to be? I'm interested to see that. I don't think there's no. Has there been a press conference in that? No, there won't have been.
Can Jordan Rossiter play left back?
Honestly,
he's 7 to 10 days away, Ryan.
Is he not? Where is he now? Is he not retired? Did he not retire or something like that? No, did I?
He's only 22 or something like that, I think.
Aye, but he's as injury prone as Kamal Roof.
He's opening cafes with Kamal Roof down in Dumbarton. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. I think it would be interesting.
Bristol Rovers.
He's at Bristol Rovers. I think we might see the likes of McCann and Lowry as well tomorrow at points. Which everybody always likes to see. I would like to see Lowry tomorrow. But I am probably more interested to see who is actually returned to the squad. If we've been told all this, I mean, a friendly is to get minutes and legs. Players need game time, etc. So this is the game to surely see who is actually back. Is Yilmaz definitely not back? Definitely not?
I don't think so.
No,
there's been no talk of him, so I don't think he is, mate.
So that's what I mean, but we've just been told that the players are returning to the squad. We don't know exactly what players.
I suppose lack of communication doesn't really mean anything.
Exactly. Don't be surprised to see
your Cicalas, Solaks, and Kings that'll be back. Those will be the players returning that I think they're on about.
It won't be Hollander. It won't be Kamal Roof.
I think Kamal Roof might be.
Is he?
He's training.
10 minutes. We'll see him for 10 minutes. Not be him.
So he's guaranteed to get injured tomorrow. Yep, and be out for the rest of the season. Yeah. But no, I'm looking forward to getting back. I say it's almost back to the real deal. But bring it on tomorrow. I thoroughly need tomorrow, so I am really looking forward to it.
Yes, don't worry. You will. I'm sure we will enjoy tomorrow and after the game as well. So, actually, if you've got the fear for Sunday, that'll be
already. Yeah.
I get like 3-day hangovers now, so I've got the fear for Sunday. But it'll be worth it all. But no, that's been everything. So, thanks to everyone in the comments. Thanks to my 4 guests. In fact, I'll go with you, Scotia, first. Thank you much for coming on, and I will see you tomorrow outside Ibrox.
Cheers. I hope you all have a good Christmas day out tomorrow. But if you are hungover, Ali, you can just sit on the couch and watch that Scottish Women's Cup final on Sky. Rangers play.
Can't wait. Big question for you tomorrow, Scotia.
Hibs they're playing.
Is the hair down or is it up tomorrow?
I'll be up.
Oh, he's serious? Serious tomorrow?
That is serious stuff. Lock your daughters away. And Ryan, I will see you tomorrow at my flat round about 9 o'clock or something. It's an early rise tomorrow for you.
Yes, I'll be over early doors, mate. Really looking forward to it. And if Scotia keeps that hair up, then we will not be sharing your couch tomorrow evening.
I don't know where that was going then, actually.
I was like, oh, is that good?
Yeah. And last but not least, Scott Carney. Again, yes, I will see you tomorrow early doors.
Early doors, mate, tomorrow. Yeah, looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting. Something we've never done before. So I'm very much looking forward to it. Thank you everybody for getting involved in the comments as well. As always, it's brilliant to have your opinions on things. And before you go, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, etc. Thank you, everybody. Ali, back to you.
Yes, no, thanks to everyone in the comments tonight. Everything Scott said there, if you can like and share, we're getting quite close to 4,000 subscribers now. So tomorrow, like we say, it is the Club at 22 Christmas Day Out. It's not a night out, it's a day out because it's starting from 10 o'clock tomorrow. So if you see us anywhere tomorrow, Ibrox or town, come and say hello, or maybe don't come and say hello because
probably don't.
I don't know what state we'll be in, but tomorrow we may bring a match reaction from Ibrox, and as Carney suggested, somewhere special with an Ibrox, hopefully, depending on the Wi-Fi. But yes, we have been Club at 22, the Rangers podcast, and we will see you tomorrow, hopefully. Goodbye.